Dear participants, I welcome you once again to this webinar. It's going to be maybe 60 to 75 minutes webinar where we are going to take a very deep dive into the four major problems that keep people stuck, particularly in their careers and businesses, and how to deal with them using NLP. So NLP stands for Neuro-Linguistic Programming, a form of applied psychology. I'll give you a brief about NLP and how it can help us deal with these four major problems. But before that, right, once again, I welcome you to the webinar. This is based on applied NLP principles and practices. You can keep your audio muted, but whenever you want to ask me a question, you can always unmute, stop me and ask the questions. I also like a webinar where it is lots of interaction take place. So I thank you for your presence and time. It could show that you are interested in your own growth and development. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. And this webinar, particularly NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming, can be a game changer. Right? I'm talking from my personal experience, from my own, I would say, experiences with NLP, before NLP and after NLP. There has been tremendous changes. And I would like to facilitate this video from that space in which NLP has really helped me. So the agenda here is basics of NLP and the four major problems that keep a person stuck and how to deal them using NLP principles and practices. And then there could be a first answer session. And I'll finish off with maybe a few minutes of a further opportunity for you to learn with me. So first things first, who am I? Basically, I'm a mechanical engineer, turned trainer and coach. I was working in an industrial organization. I was happy being an engineer, but I wanted to become a trainer because I was very interested in the human psychology, trying to understand why people do certain things and why they don't do certain things. So there was this curiosity element always, and I kept on updating myself. I did my psychology courses, and then NLP happened in my life. And then it was a phenomenal, right, I would say, a transformation. And then I chose to quit my job and started my own corporate training company by the name Excel HR. That's around some 11 years before. And from then on, the journey has been really fabulous. And we have grown to a team of around 4 trainers, and we are doing lots of training programs pan-India. So more than 15 years of corporate training experience. I have done more than 1,200 days of corporate training programs. And then naturally, there is an expansion, right, from being a trainer to that of a coach. Towards more of transformation, more of effectiveness. And in that sense, I did my coaching. I got my coaching certifications in life coaching, leadership coaching, and also business coaching. And of course, the NLP coaching is always there. So I have clocked around 1,300 hours of coaching individuals, executives, business owners, and corporate leaders from different facets of life. Learn, apply, test, and teach from experience has been my philosophy. Of course, right, I would do the conceptual part, but I'll focus more on how it has helped me in my own life. Fascinated with NLP models and frameworks. NLP has been exploding, right? Lots and lots of frameworks, lots and lots of principles have been shared, and it's growing phenomenally. So I continue to learn and teach at more and more deeper levels. I'm an author of 4 books, and haiku writing has been my hobby. I look at haiku writing as an experiment in self-awareness. That's about me. My mission. My mission is something very simple. I want to share my mission with a sense that it can have a strong connect with NLP, and it can help you understand what NLP is all about. I help individuals, executives, entrepreneurs create breakthroughs in their lives, career, business by challenging their existing thinking processes and limiting belief systems. In fact, this is all about NLP. So critical words here are the breakthrough, because if you look at life, and if you can observe our own life, you can understand that the growth is not linear, right? It's in spurts. So there is a breakthrough, and then a plateau, and then there is a breakthrough, and then there is a plateau, and then there is a breakthrough, right? So these are critical breakthrough points in which our lives goes to the next level in the terms of how much we earn, how does we create value, and our levels of our consciousness, levels of our maturity. So all these breakthroughs signifies all those things. Now the question is, are these breakthroughs under our control, or they happen purely by luck? Do they happen purely by chance? Or at least can we have a reasonable control over them? So in that sense, I believe that we can create breakthroughs in our lives, in our own lives, by challenging our existing thinking processes, right? This is where something is phenomenally important, right? We always know that what has helped us to come up to this level may not help us to go to the next level. They have been useful to us in the past. They have been giving success and happiness to us in the past, but it's not necessary that they continue to do so. But we are not aware of this phenomena, we'll be clinging to those things that have been working for them, irrespective of whether they are working right now or not. And the limiting belief systems, again, right? The glass ceilings, lots of glass ceilings, which would not really help us go to the next level. So challenging our own thinking processes, which are no more useful to us right now, and having a hard and deep look at our limiting belief systems, right? These are the key for creating breakthroughs. And that is the area in which I work. I also help them to access their own inner resources. This is again a phenomenal NLP principle. NLP believes people already have all the resources they need. Let it be communication, let it be confidence, let it be curiosity, let it be determination. Already those resources are there already within. Example is, if you look at a child, the child has all these resources at its at its beck and call. But as we become adults, maybe we lose touch with how to access these resources. And a part of NLP is establishing our ability to reclaim those skill sets in which we are able to access those resources whenever and wherever we want. And I also help them create a vision, because NLP believes a life with a purpose is more exciting. And I also help them co-create strategies. Again, this is again very important, right? Because strategies determine whether we are able to reach our vision, whether we are able to reach our goals, let them be short-term, mid-term, or long-term. So the strategies are again very, very important. So the quality of the strategies are also very important. I help them co-create strategies. And of course, we may have a very strong vision, we may have the strategies, but are we really committed for execution? That is again a key. Because without commitment and execution, how so lofty a dream might be, still a goal might be, a vision might be, it still remains a dream. So that commitment part is again phenomenally very important, and NLP puts huge emphasis on our ability to get our hands dirty, not just dreaming, not just creating strategies, but getting into the field and getting our hands dirty. That is again a very significant part of NLP. I help my clients in that area. As a coaching partner, I help them to gently but firmly move out of their comfort zones. Again, right? Right? Good is the worst enemy of best. That is one of the biggest problems that we face in our day-to-day lives. Good is one of the worst enemies of best. When we are good, right, it becomes difficult for us to step out of our comfort zones and explore our full potential using NLP principles and practices. I help my clients do that. So based on my NLP experiences, my creed is this: awareness. Without awareness is the basis for transformation, basis for change. Without awareness, it's very difficult to change. So from awareness, right, what comes next is freedom. So NLP defines freedom in a very beautiful way. I love this definition. NLP defines freedom as having choices. How do we define a victim? It's a very important question. A victim is a person who doesn't have any choice. If a person feels that he or she doesn't have any choice, then he or she is a victim. On the other hand, right, victorhood, from the victimhood to the victorhood is our ability to create choices, have more choices in life. So one of the definitions of NLP is all about having more personal choices in our lives. The more choices we have, the more free we are. And the third one, what do we do with the choices, is to use the choices, use the freedom for a purpose, right? For a purpose now, which could be much more meaningful. So this is my creed. So let's quickly understand what is NLP. So NLP neuro stands for, right, refers to the brain and nervous system, the mental pathways of our five senses by which we see, hear, feel, taste, and smell. Obviously, right? You might be very familiar with the neurons. Something very special about neurons is this. Two important aspects of neurons. One is memory. The other one is identity. But these are the two specific functions of the neurons which are not being done by other cells in the body, right? You know that. It's almost as if that we are remade once in every 6 months. The stomach linings die. It's said that they die every day and they are being replaced. The skin cells also die very frequently and they are being replaced. It's as though like once in 6 months we are newly made, except for the neural part. Neurons are the first to come, last to go. And they are so significant because they are able to hold the memory and they are able to hold our identity. So in that ways, the neurons are very different from the rest of the cells in the body. So our nervous system is the basis for all our experiences. Without the nervous system, we may not be able to have any experience at all. Our seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, and smelling contributes the experiences, right? In fact, contributes this world. Life is called as Anubhava Dhara, a series of experiences, an experience after an experience, and an experience after an experience. That is what we call as life. And this life is made possible because of our nervous system. So the neuro refers to the brain and the nervous system, and then linguistic refers to the language and how it affects us, right? Language is, I would say, a phenomenal milestone in the evolution of a human being. In anthropology, linguistics, or the evolution of language is considered one of the greatest breakthroughs, right? Because it's so powerful, so meaningful, and it has made very many avenues for us possible. Many other possibilities have been brought in because of our linguistic ability. So we have been speaking maybe for the past 10,000 years, and over 5,000 to 6,000 years, we have got a good language, and the language has been refined, and the language parts bring in more meaning to our lives. So we use language to interpret our experience and give us sensory information, on all the sensory information which we get through our nervous system are given a meaning. This is again very, very significant. This was the pivotal point, I would say, of our life experiences. We don't just allow the experiences to keep on passing. We are meaning-making machines. We human beings are meaning craving. We crave for meaning in life. And we always interpret our experiences using the language faculty. Down the line, I'll give you a very interesting example for this. So we are meaning-making machines. We crave meaning, and it's very difficult for us not to have any meaning. So we need to have meaning for people's behavior. We need to have meaning for whatever is happening. So that's where the quest, right? The scientific quest, which is outside, and the psychological quest, which is inside, are both meant for having more meaning in life. So language is a medium of thinking. Without language, right, there might be a few visual thinking elements, but predominantly language is the medium of thinking. So the neuro and the linguistic part coexist. So neuro is through which how we get an experience, and the linguistic part is how we interpret that experience and give a meaning to that experience. Then comes a question, what do we do with the meaning? Of course, the third part comes the programming part. Programming part refers how we organize and sequence our actions, the behaviors, to achieve specific results, and is based on the meaning which we give to the experiences. So very simply, our actions and behaviors are simply habitual programs designed to get some results. So in a nutshell, right, this is, I would say, a very important slide, which gives a philosophy of NLP very succinctly. So neuro stands for experience, linguistic stands for meaning, and programming stands for the behavior part. I'll give you a small example. Let's say in an office, there is an employee sitting in his chair, and in comes the boss. So normally, as soon as the employee sees the boss entering, he will get up and wish the boss a cheerful good morning. The boss will also smile back and wish the employee good morning and go back and pass on, right? That's what normally happens. But on that particular day, the boss enters, the employee looks at the boss and wishes with a cheerful good morning, but the boss doesn't respond. With a very serious face, the boss passes by the employee to his own cabin. This is a new experience for the employee. Now, what happens to the employee is again something very interesting. He cannot just allow this experience to pass. We are meaning making machines. We have to create a meaning for this experience. So the employee's linguistic ability, linguistic faculty goes into overdrive and it starts creating meaning for this particular experience in which his boss didn't respond positively. So many options could be there. So option one could be that the employee is afraid that a mistake he had done some 3 months before has now been followed by the boss. So in a few moments, the boss is going to call me to the cabin and blast me, maybe fire me. So that is one meaning. The second meaning could be someone else, a colleague of the employee could have bad mouth, spoken ill about this employee to the boss, and so the boss didn't respond. Third, there are rumors that there is going to be a layoff. So maybe I am on the list. So maybe I'll be getting a pin slip by today. So I'm just talking about sharing 3 options. On all the 3 options are, in fact, right, 3 meanings, 3 interpretations of that experience. Now, what happens to the behavior? If the employee chooses the first option, then he would prepare himself. If the boss calls me to the cabin, how am I going to respond? So prepare justification, prepare excuses. That would be his behavior. If he thinks that someone has bad mouthed him, then he'll be very curious to find out that particular person and deal with him or her. The third, right, is suppose there is going to be a pink slip, I'm going to be fired, then maybe the behavior would be to update his resume and start sending it out. So in a nutshell, right, neuro meaning, neuro stands for experience, linguistic stands for meaning, and the programming is for the behavior part. So the basic question is, what is the immediate cause of behavior? The immediate cause of behavior is meaning and not necessarily the experience. This is something very important from an NLP perspective. This is the philosophy of NLP in a nutshell. NLP says the experience around us could be positive, could be negative. If we choose to focus on positive, it is okay. But if we look at the negative, then we try to change it. If you are able to change it, it's good. But if you are not able to change it, if it is very persisting, if it is very resisting, then NLP would say the more we fight with that particular negative experience, the more we suffer. So that's why suffering is called as argument with a persisting reality. Suffering is defined as an argument with a persisting negative reality. So the more we fight, the more we suffer. So one of the ways to deal with this is treat the experience as neutral. Do not fight with the experience, but try and change the meaning which we give to the experience. And if you're able to change the meaning for better, automatically a better behavior comes. For example, in this case of the employee might give another meaning or a fourth meaning, saying that maybe the boss was completely involved. He had his own problems. He was involved in his problems. Maybe he didn't even see me greet him. So if he chooses to give this fourth meaning, then his behavior throughout that day might be very calm and composed and as normal as possible. So the idea, or I would say the philosophy, is you're able to change a negativity into positivity. Okay, that's fair and good. That's well and good. If not, the question is not trying to wish it away, because in the name of hard work, if we try too much, it might make us suffer more. So instead, right, can we reframe? It's called as a concept of reframing, giving a different meaning to a strongly persisting negative experience. Can we reframe that? And from that, a better behavior. If you're able to give a better meaning, a better behavior comes. And the beauty is this, dear friends, the better behavior indirectly gives you a better experience. The better behavior indirectly gives you a better experience. So I would define NLP as art and science of changing the meaning. Art and science of changing the meaning of our experiences. So I just stop at this stage, and right, if there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer. You can either unmute yourself or type in the chat box, please. Hope I'm able to communicate. You are with me. I'm audible. I'm visible. So if there are any questions you want to ask based on whatever we have seen tomorrow, we've seen today up to now. So NLP is about, right, changing the meaning. Any questions you want to ask?
Sir, this is Chandramouli.
Yes. Yeah, welcome, Mr. Chandramouli.
Yeah, good evening to all the friends.
Yeah.
My question would be, do you mean to say that we need to imagine in a different way, stating that getting into a different meaning means? Are you talking about self-imagination of getting into another proposition? Or,
yeah, yeah, that's a very good question. Thanks for that question, Mr. Moli. So here, if you look at all the options are still imaginations, right? The option of making a mistake, the option as someone has bad mouth, the option I'm going to be fired, all these are still imaginations. Nothing is true because nothing has been factful. Everything is in the imagination. Everything is in the mind. So in fact, yes, we need to understand that the meaning which it gives is forms a part of our experience, form a part of our imagination. We imagine many things. In fact, right, the world is not outside there. The world is inside our minds, made up of past our memories. We project our memories into the future. Lots of visualization, lots of imagination is going on. So the question is, what is useful rather than what is true? This might be slightly jarring, right? But you know, right, the concept of placebos in medicine, nothing actually works in a placebo, but it's a mindset. So yes, imagination is used unless otherwise we are actually meeting a fact. Unless otherwise we are meeting a truth. When things are uncertain, it is always useful to visualize in a more positive way. That would be my answer to the question. But again, right, it doesn't end with visualization. Then comes a question. See, the ultimate idea is to have our minds better for responding when the truth emerges. The employee doesn't know what is going to happen. Maybe one of these options is really true. But until and unless the employee is strongly able to know, yes, the boss calls and said, you are fired. But even up to that, right, if the mind be calm and cool, and even if that happens, maybe in a common mind, with a calm and cool mind, the employee maybe responds more positively. So the idea is twofold. Yes, it is a part of imagination, but the purpose is whether this could be useful to help us create more and better choices. Did I answer your question, Mr. Mohan?
Yeah, of course. Thanks.
Thank you. So my perspective is about NLP. NLP brings unconscious processes into conscious awareness and thereby helps creating more and better choices. So at a personal level, right, as an employee, I'm an introvert, and as long as I was an employee, I was able to do well. It suited my type of job. I was quite happy. But once I quit the job, when I was in a position where I need to market myself, then I understood my introverted nature, which was very unconscious in that process. In order to promote myself, in order to succeed in my new field, I need to consciously, right? I need to consciously become an ambivert. I need to talk to people. I need to influence them in a positive way. And in that sense, NLP has really helped me well. So then unconscious process has to be brought into conscious awareness and thereby help create more choices. So right now, right, I would say I have trained myself to like to talk to people, enjoy talking with people, trying to understand their perspective and help them with. NLP helps an individual to set very strong and clear goals. This is what the next part is. Yes, I have reframed. I'm now in a better state of mind. But then the question comes: strong and very clear goals help better relationships. Howsoever strong you might be, still you need to work in a team. You need to have support for you to really be successful. Observe and listen more deeply. This is again, I would say, one of the best gifts NLP can give you, help you really listen in this fast-going world. Because one of the biggest difficulties is to get a person who can listen to you not judgmentally. That's very, very difficult. People are in their own worlds, and it's very difficult to listen with a non-judgmental frame of mind. NLP has really helped me in that way. And bring in behavioral flexibility because, again, right, this is a matter of choices. Because, right, just with one strategy, it is not sufficient to reach your goals. That could be one key, one lock with many keys. You choose one key and try to open the lock doesn't open. Then there is no point in working hard. You need to go for the other key. That is the behavioral flexibility. So pacing, leading, motivating, coaching self, again, this is again phenomenal, where you can have a 24/7 coach. If you learn NLP, right, NLP can help you coach yourself very powerful and can also help you coach others. So we'll quickly go to the 4 major problems that keep people stuck. So these are based on the feedbacks, right, of my interactions with my clients. So based on my coaching and training programs, based on the testimonials which I got from participants after a few months, and sometimes even after a year of my training programs, I got feedback. Based on that feedbacks, I've been able to identify the 4 major problems, very specific in nature. We shall see them one by one. We can also discuss the solutions. So problem 1, lack of clarity, confusion, and not knowing what is that I really want. This is pretty significant. People, right, in my coaching and training sessions, right, when we start, it will be very difficult for them to answer this question: what is that you really want? And the solution is a well-formed outcome. I will explain this. Take the example of a runner. How can you make him run faster? That's a standard question. So one is a pot of gold at the end. Maybe there is 100 meters. Keep a pot of gold at the end. Maybe initially he takes some 30 seconds. Now when you put a pot of gold, maybe he runs in 25 seconds. The next option is, right, put a mad dog behind. Maybe he runs in 15 seconds. So these 2 principles, NLP, right, brings a huge emphasis on these 2 principles. One is the pleasure principle. The other is the pain principle. Where are we, by which are we motivated the most? That is a very, very important question. Normally, based on my experience, I'm able to see that the clients focus more on the pain principle. I don't want this type of boss. I don't want this type of industry. I don't want this type of relationship. I don't want this type of business. I don't want this type of business management processes. So they are very clear about what is that they don't want. But when I question them instead, what is that you really want? It becomes very difficult for them to really say what is that they want. I hope I'm communicating. So it takes normally around 2 sessions to get this right. What is that they really want? Now there is another question, which is the bigger motivator? Is the pleasure principle a bigger motivator or the pain principle? Obviously, the pain principle is a big motivator. You run the 100 meters in 15 seconds. But the problem is, the person may run anywhere and may end up with a tiger rather than a mad dog. So the question is there, I personally believe there need to be a pain principle also for the bigger motivation, but there has to be a pleasure principle for direction. So the first thing is, while mad dog motivates you, positive goal gives you a sense of direction and purpose. It also helps you deal with the discomfort in the path. The first day, first show, a famous hero, our favorite hero. The person is able to stand 3 hours in the queue. Because he's very focused. There is a moving towards. We call it this pleasure principle as moving towards. He's able to handle the 3 hours discomfort while he's able to stand in the queue. If there is no moving towards, if there is no pleasure principle, right, we get disrupted very fast in our journey. And so having the healthy balance is the key. At the same time, will only a pot of gold will help? Not necessarily, because I have already discussed good to great is difficult. Good to best is difficult. There needs to be a pain element. And remember this famous saying, you cannot change something which you tolerate. Let me repeat this. You cannot change something which you tolerate. So the question is, right, when people come for the NLP coaching in particular, they come with a strong moving away. They come with a very strong pain principle. They are not very clear about the pleasure principle. And they are in some way able to tolerate the discomfort which they are having right now. And that makes it very difficult for them to change. So can you increase the focus on the pleasure principle and also bring a healthy balance with the pain principle so that the tolerance level comes down, and then ultimately the person is really able to how to deal with the confusion, how to set very well-formed outcomes. That's a key. A long-term well-formed outcome need to be based on your passion. Again, right, the passion check, the sustained inspiration check, whether the individual has the skill sets required or is just passing information, passing fantasy. Whether the desire is deep driving. Well-formed outcome should answer these questions thoroughly. I'll give you a quick summary, right, for you to really check your long-term goals and put them through this framework. First is, what is that you really want? Second is it moving away or moving towards? Is it pain-based or is it pleasure-based? Is it internally or externally referenced? This is again, do you want it for yourself? Is it based on your internal essence of passion and inspiration, or do you want to have it as an external reference? What is external reference? When you try to prove something to someone, it could be a reactionary goal. We also call it as reactionary goals. Is it for yourself or is it for someone else? Proving something to someone or helping someone? Where is it really internally referenced or is it externally referenced? That's a very, very important question you need to ask. Third is, are you able to visualize it clearly? Because of the unconscious mind gives us sense of direction and purpose. What the mind cannot see, the eye cannot see. So are you able to write in a way, depict it through pictures, sound, and feelings? Are you when you are able to see, hear, and feel the goal achievement, it gives you a sense of direction and purpose to your unconscious. This is what I need to go. The direction is set. And without the direction is set, the reticular activating system, which is simply very simple, when you decide, make decisions inside, you are able to spot it in the external world. For example, if you decide to buy a car, you will start seeing advertisements of car everywhere. Those advertisements are already there, but they're beyond you have been deleting them. You are not aware of them because the internal decision has not been made. Hope I am communicating. So to give a sense of direction and purpose to your unconscious so that it's able to spot opportunities. And when will you be able to spot opportunities? When will you be able to board a bus? Only when you know where to go. Without knowing where to go, which bus will you board? And then the ecology check. Ecology check is something very, very important. This simply means, see, there is a present state. There is a desired state, which is our goal. And the problem or the challenge is the gap. This is the problem. The ecology check is identifying the positives in the present state. Maybe an individual wants to become a multi-millionaire by going out of the country, going to a new country and earning there. That could be his desired goal. But the ecology check is now he is very comfortable with his family. In a way, he's having great relationship with his family, with his wife and children, which he may miss out when he goes out. And the question is, take that into account and ensure, is it okay? So the ecology check is whether the positives in the present state could be preserved in the desired state. Is there is a possibility? If there is a possibility, well and good. If there is no possibility, is it okay? Because if this is not okay, then even the getting of the goals will lead to regrets. So taking into consideration, the ecology check is again very, very important. If the ecology check is not done properly, people stop their journeys midway. They start setting another goal, another business, another business. Because the ecology check hasn't been done properly. Any questions, friends? Stop here, maybe 2 minutes, 3 minutes quickly. Are you with me? Am I communicating? Hello? Am I audible? Am I visible? Are you with me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. That's nice. Thank you. So problem 2, very simply, so problem 1, I'll go back, not knowing what is that I really want based on my experience. I'm telling you, it takes normally 1 or 2 sessions, some time for a person to really become clear of what is that the individual really want based on his deep diving desire, deep diving his passion, his skill sets, his competences, his levels of intelligence. And the eco check, all those stuff are very, very important for dealing with the first problem. What is that you really want? Because this one question with the problem 1 will haunt you throughout your NLP programs. If you choose to learn NLP, This one question will haunt you. What is that you want? What is that you really want? What is that you really, really want? Are you sure is that you really want? And this is very important because there is no point in reaching a goal and then still having a feeling of emptiness. Did I strive too much for this only? So that could be a pretty significant problem if it is not handled properly. And problem two is again lack of confidence. Normally, right, an NLP training program fills you with confidence. Where does the lack of confidence come from? We'll have a deep look. It comes from our limiting belief systems. Then the question, right? The altitude of our goals depend on the altitude of our beliefs. So if we have a goal and there's a counterpart, the belief. You cannot set a goal beyond your belief system. The altitude of your goal depends on the altitude of your belief system. Maybe we can do a lip service, but in our heart of hearts, at a very unconscious level, we'll not be able to set a goal which is bigger or which is taller than our belief systems. We may not be able to set a goal beyond our belief system. These are called as limiting beliefs. How do you deal with the limiting beliefs? That's again a very important question. We look at the anatomy of a belief. What is a belief? So two anecdotes which you might have heard, right? Quickly we'll rush through them. One is something which is very well known in personal development circles, and the other one maybe not so much, but I really love the second one. The story of Roger Bannister, the more formal one, the 4-minute mile. Initially, he was an athlete, he was a doctor and an athlete. So the 4-minute mile was pretty difficult. That is running a mile in 4 minutes. It was considered very, very difficult. In the record, right, it was not there until 6th May 1954. Before that, lots of research were done. There were lots of theories. A man will not be able to run a mile in 4 minutes. His heart will collapse, his nervous system will collapse, he will die. But then on 6th May 1954, 3 minutes 59.4 seconds, Roger Bannister made that feat. The record, but the beauty is not that, right? The beauty is not that. This is the real significance. The record lasted just for 46 days. Remember, decades, nothing happened. And then one event happened and the record lasted just for 46 days. 20 other people were able to do it in the next year. Run the mile in 4 minutes. Now it's almost something very common. National level athlete does it very, very easily. The 4-minute mile is very, very common. What do you think happened? Will the human biological system evolved in 46 days? Definitely not. So something, right, the way in which a record is looked at, the way in which a possibility is looked at changes. And that gives rise to a wonderful belief system change. The second one I really love, George Danzig. You can research that. He was a mathematician. I really love this fable. University of California, 1940s. Here is a story. So George Danzig, we'll go slightly deeper in this because for us to understand the belief works. He was very interested in mathematics. He would never miss a mathematics class, although he might choose to miss other classes. So one day, of course, right, he woke up late, and so he went to the class late, and already 20-25 minutes has passed. So he sneaked and sat in the last bench. And he looked at the table, looked at the board, and the maths professor had a habit of giving assignments. Normally, in every class, give assignments just to be submitted before the next class. So he looked at the board, and there were 2 problems. So he thought them as assignments. He thought to himself that assignments are given, and noted down that those 2 problems. The class ended. It was, I believe, it was a Friday. So he wanted to go to his village weekend. So he thought that I'll finish the questions, finish the assignment, and then go. So he started working on those 2 problems. To his surprise, he found them very difficult. But anyhow, he persisted. He went to the library. He worked with different resources, and he was able to finish those two problems almost during dawn. He worked throughout the night when it was about to, sunrise was about to happen. He finished those two problems. He wrote them down in papers, put them in an envelope, wrote his professor's name on that, put it in the professor's post box, and then went to the village. And one day there was a huge eruption right in the college. Everyone was searching for George Danzig. Everyone are asking, particularly the mathematics professor was very vibrant, right? He was looking for George. Where is George? Where is George? Everyone said he has gone to his village, and a car was sent, and he was brought from the village. And he was actually received with a very big fanfare. The mathematics professor came and hugged him and said, "Fantastic, you have done a great job." George was totally confused. He didn't know. He said, "What is this congratulations for? What did I do?" And I said, and the professor said, "You had created a record, right?" George was really confused. Again said, "What did I do? Please explain." They said, "You solved those two problems." And George said, "Yes, the two assignments you had wrote in the last class. Yes, sir, they were difficult. I worked till early morning, but I was able to solve." Then it was a turn for the professor to be confused. He said, "You taught them as assignments?" George said, "Yes, but in reality, they were not assignments. I told you as I wrote them down. There were two statistical problems that were unsolved for the past century." Let me repeat it. The mathematics professor said those two problems were unsolved for the last century. I told no in the class. I told no. And sheepishly, George said, "Sorry, sir, I was late. I was not there in the class." So, right, it's sometimes better, right? Good to be late. So I'm sure none of the other students in the class would have tried those two problems because they know that those two problems were unsolved in the last century, and their belief systems wouldn't even have allowed them to start working on them. Whereas George Danzig wasn't aware that those two problems were unsolved. They were the biggest challenges for the last century, and he didn't know that. It was a fantastic placebo, and so he was able to work on them and then solve them. Hope I'm communicating. So simplex algorithms were determined. Mathematics Programming Society created a George B. Danzig Prize, and the solutions, particularly of those two problems, are applied very, very powerfully in our day-to-day activities like ATM machines and all those stuff. So what is a belief? A belief is a generalization. Taking one experience from the past and projecting it into the future. A person is not afraid of a dog. One dog bites, and then the person is afraid of any dog he sees in the future, right? Taking one experience from the past and projecting into the future. It is said that 3 experiences may be sufficient to form a belief system, particularly in young minds. Let me repeat, this is again very significant. It is said that 3 experiences may be sufficient to form a belief system. Strong generalizations can become phobias. If a person gets caught in a lift, it's a very strong, right, experience. It's a strong generalization. It could result in claustrophobia. One stranger victimizes a person, and the person could develop a xenophobia. So very strong generalizations are phobias. And how to deal with negative beliefs? I'll give you 3 ways, right? In fact, I can give you 4 ways, which you can straight away start applying. Here they are. Understand that beliefs are based on box experiences and need not be true. This is something very significant. We need to understand that our belief systems need not be true. They may be based on a few experiences. They don't represent the entire truth. The moment we start believing our beliefs as truth, then the problem could start. There are no right or wrong beliefs, right? Beliefs just happen. So the question is classifying them as a right or wrong doesn't make sense. In fact, it's an NLP principle which says that nothing in this world is neither right nor wrong. Nothing in this world is neither good nor bad. Everything in this world is either useful or not useful. Of course, we live in a society, we live in a family. We need to have concepts of right or wrong, but when it comes to reaching our long-term goals, our vision, it is useful to classify things as useful or not useful. So beliefs, I'm a good communicator, and I'm not a good communicator. Both need not really be true. Maybe the I am a good communicator is a very useful belief, even though it is not really true. And I am not a good communicator is a very unuseful belief, although it is again not true. But the more a person believes them to be true, they appear really true for him or her. So dealing with beliefs, I'm presenting three or four ways, right? First is at the logical level. To make the client, when you self-coach, to make yourself understand that the belief need not really be true. And this is called as a meta model, a very powerful model which brings in awareness and helps to create choices. It's a belief buster mechanism. Example, I am not a good communicator. So questions to be asked, is it always true? Are you not a good communicator? Always. Where else is this not true? Where else you are really able to communicate well? Maybe I'm able to communicate well with my friends. I'm able to communicate well with my family members. So it simply means you are able to communicate well in certain contexts, but you are not able to communicate well in other contexts. It doesn't mean that you are not a good communicator. When it is not true, what does this mean? This is it, right? I'm able to communicate well in certain contexts, but I'm finding it difficult in certain other contexts. So how can the new meaning help you? Then if I can understand how I'm able to communicate well in certain contexts. When I'm with a friend, where is my focus? How is my body language? How relaxed am I? How am I breathing? How am I able to put myself more in a spontaneous mode when I'm communicating with a friend? What is the strategies, unconscious strategies that I adopt? I can become more conscious about those strategies and use the very same strategies when I'm finding it difficult to communicate, and maybe in front of a boss, maybe in front of a client. If I can identify the strategies which I use when I'm able to communicate well with my friend, I can use the same strategies when I'm dealing with my boss and also with my client. Hope I'm communicating. Dealing with the beliefs at an intuitive level. One is the logical left brain level, the second is the right brain level. Visualization is the key. Yes, Chandrapriya ma'am, I think you asked, you have a question, please ask.
Yeah, can you just go back to that slide once again, sir? Here you mentioned a point that, when I communicate well with my friend, maybe the same strategy could be used. But when I communicate with my friend, I have that comfort factor. One second, I know that maybe that person will not judge me. So that plays a role, vital role. I am more of myself when I communicate with such a comfortable relationship. But when it is going to be my boss or someone else,
Okay.
even despite being good in communication, I always have at the back of my mind, maybe I might think that the person whom I'm communicating to, the recipient may not be of the same sort of relationship that I have with my friend. So in that case, how you deal with it?
The question is, I have to initiate a change. When I communicate with my boss, I need to take the responsibility. I need to initiate a change. I can't simply expect the boss to suddenly change. And there is a lot of transference and counter transference. With my friend, there has been lots of feedback loops. So I am assuming a sense of comfort when I deal with my friend. So in that case, the question is, how can I introduce a new change when I deal with my boss? Because if I continue to be in the same way, the reinforcing will always take place. So what I mean to say is I can take small tidbits from here. And what are the biggest ways in which you can create changes using your physiology? You need to simply observe how you are sitting. What is your physiology when you are communicating with your friend? And we need to become aware. The person has to become aware of his physiology, because this is the easiest to change. Body or mind, which is easy to change? Of course, body is easy to change. So we need to take responsibility for improving that relationship. So I need to create a change. And which is the easiest way to create a change? The physiology. So start with the physiology part. We need to start somewhere. And for that, you can choose to look at something which is working well. That is the entire perspective about NLP. If something is working well in one part of your life, you can mimic that in other parts of your life. So you can start with the physiology. And particularly, right, personally, I believe when are you able to have a very effective conversation? When you're spontaneous. Hope I'm communicating. When you're very spontaneous, when we are responding as things come, not having a preconceived notion, then it becomes a much more effective conversation. Can I duplicate that element when I speak to my boss? Maybe I'm having a preconceived notion with my boss. Can I at least put it on hold? The best way is to start with the body. Breathing is another very important thing, which we are most of the times not aware. And NLP comes up with lots of mirroring techniques. How do you mirror? And can you match your boss? See, the basic idea is this, right? Match and then lead. If you want to influence your boss, definitely first you need to match. And the match gives a sense of comfort, which you talked about. Having a sense of comfort with our friends is because we are matching. We have the same sets of beliefs, same or similar beliefs and values. That's what gives us the level of comfort. Maybe we are not having it with the boss. Then can we start somewhere, right? We need to understand what are the belief systems that the boss and we have in common and start from that area. And then gradually, once the matching is done, when the rapport is built, then we can start influencing our boss based on our shared goal and mission. Did I answer your question, ma'am? I know it's a very complicated setup, but I'm just trying to give you certain inputs.
Yeah, it was. Thank you so much. It was helpful. Yeah.
Thank you. One, that's great. So second is the visualization parts, right? The right brain part. It is said that unconscious mind doesn't know the difference between a real experience and a vividly imagined experience. So the question is, can I visualize myself having a very comfortable conversation with my boss? Normally, right, we know if I ask you to visualize sunset tomorrow, will sunrise tomorrow? I ask this question, close your eyes, can you visualize that? Most of us will be having a very clear idea because we believe that. If I ask a question, check your belief whether your neighbor will be the next Prime Minister of India. It will be very difficult for you, maybe, right? It might be very difficult because we don't have that particular belief. So the question is, when you believe, you are able to see that very clearly in your mind's eye. When you are not able to believe, it becomes very difficult. So the question is, right, if I want to see myself as a good communicator, can I see it as crystal clear as I see the sunrise? So we call it, it's a very interesting technique. It's called as a contrastive analysis technique. One part, you have the sunrise, and other part, you have the communication where you speak in front of people very confidently. And this could be very bright, right? There are submodalities here, very clear, very bright, lots of contrast, colorful, whereas this could be muddy, this could be confused. So the question is, have them both and then try and transfer these qualities. This is a strong belief. This is a weak belief. The characteristics of the strong belief can be, right, the mind is capable, can be transferred to that weak belief system. And over a period of time, if you're able to see this crystal clear, at least as good as or something similar to this, then automatically, right, our belief increases. It could be very vividly felt in the way in which we behave. So this is working at an intuitive level. So these are called as trance states. Trance states are right where the logical doubting part of our mind is, I would say, bypassed, so that you are able to have a very crystal clear idea of your weak belief system. So the trance states must be deep enough to bypass the doubting part of the mind. NLP deals with lots of trance techniques like progressive muscular relaxation technique. It puts you into very wonderful trance processes so that it becomes easy at an experiential level for you to start believing that you can relax and put yourself into deep trance states. So visualizations will be combined with appropriate positive emotions. This is one way to deal with the unuseful or negative beliefs.
I would like to interrupt once again. I'm sorry.
Yes, please.
See, when you say yes, we would like to visualize. Yes, I can understand it has a huge impact on what we are going to become when we visualize things. But I just have this is more of curiosity or things.
Yeah.
Whenever you think, maybe this could have been true for many people in many instances. Whenever you think something negative that happens immediately, that is whether you visualize or you just think event that happens, that sort of intuition comes into reality so soon. But
Yeah.
when we think something positive, I know it is not like, it is difficult for us to 100% believe that, this will happen. It is again related to the belief system that you spoke. I'm completely, I can understand that. But why does it either take time or at times it doesn't happen also?
So the answer lies in something which is called as VK synesthesia.
Sorry?
VK synesthesia.
Okay.
Visual is one modality. Kinesthetic is a feeling, right?
Yeah.
And a trauma has a high VK synesthesia. For example, a person who went through an accident, he just thinks about that accident, immediately there is a sense of panic.
Yeah.
Am I communicating? So there is a very strong VK synesthesia.
Okay.
So particularly when it comes to negativity, the VK synesthesia works very well. That's, I think, is the nature of the brain. Brain has been programmed to look for negativities. Topologically, brain is programmed to look for dangers behind the bush.
True.
Right. So this VK synesthesia is very strong, particularly in case of negative experiences. Whereas in case of positive, right, when you visualize something possible, still there is a gap between what you visualize and what you feel. So we need to intensify the visualizations so that a strong VK is connected. Of course, we do have strong VK positive memories also. Maybe when we see a family photograph or when we think about a family photograph, the positive VK synesthesia could be very high. So again, I believe that we need to slightly train our brain to have a positive VK synesthesia. It takes some time, but we need to train, just like a muscle. We need to train the neurons to have a very strong VK synesthesia, positive VK synesthesia. But once we understand I would say, the logics behind it, this could become much more easier.
Okay. Thank you.
So using affirmations, right? That is again, right? Everything depends on the self-talk. You are what you say to yourself. So lots of affirmations, right? Are there. NLP comes out with wonderful worded affirmations, right? Depending on what is the belief system, what is the U-turn statement. For example, you need to develop the U-turn statement, pretty important. I am not a good communicator. Then the U-turn statement is I am a good communicator. And then bringing in a present continuous form, bringing in that ing, I am becoming a good communicator, would satisfy the doubting part of the mind. So once you understand the way in which you talk to yourself, and can you replace certain high negative words to yourself? For example, I am furious to I am irritated. When you catch yourself using the word furious, can you consciously replace that word with furious being irritated? Because this is a high stress word, high energetic word. This is also high energetic. Then maybe the P word, something a funny way which says you are angry. I remember, right, in one coaching session, I think it's a training program where I was able to help a women entrepreneur change her. She was very afraid of riding two-wheelers. And when I asked her what will happen when you ride a two-wheeler, she used the word, I will fall down, have an injury. And when I asked her to replace the word injury with scratch, she felt much better. And after 6 months, she was able to actually ride a two-wheeler. So the injury is a very strong word, which put in lots of panic for her not even to try riding a two-wheeler, whereas the word scratch helped her to experiment. Am I communicating audio with me? Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
I think there's a chat, sir, if you could say.
Let me check. VK synesthesia. I'll type it here. See, synesthesia is where one sense replaces other sense, where one sense gets strongly connected with another sense. We call it as a synesthesia. Okay, so quickly write two more are there. 10 minutes to go. Then the as if. This is a combination of both logic and intuition. I love this. This works with the body-mind connect. Body and mind are part of the same system. So model an effective communicator, particularly the physiology. One is modeling. See, NLP at its heart and core is modeling. How are successful people able to deliver successful results? There is a strategy which mostly unconscious. We need to elicit that strategy and make it learnable and teachable. That is how NLP started. So NLP has modeling. We call it as modeling excellence, model an effective communicator, particularly the physiology and the tone level, mimic the body language and the tonality. These two things are very, very important. The physiology part, how does a successful communicator deliver successful results, depends on the body. Start with the physiology. Body and mind are part of the same system. We need to change somehow. Unless we change, unless we introduce a new cause, we will not get a new results. And one of the easiest ways to introduce a new cause is at the physiology level, at the bodily level. For a few moments at least, assume the body, the physiology of the person, and also the tonality, and then definitely you'll be start getting the results because you are creating a change, and you getting a new result is much, much higher. So mimic at the body language and the tonality level. In fact, this is what we are doing unconsciously. We model, keep modeling people at a children level, at a child level, maybe 0 to 7 years, we model our authority figures. But then later on, we start modeling people whom we admire unconsciously. It is said that if you work, maybe the first boss with whom you work for 2 years has a big impact on you, your management style. Hope I'm communicating, right? So we are already doing this unconsciously. Now my question is, can we do it much more consciously so that we pick and choose what matters to us most? So be aware of the sensation. Believe me, right, when you adopt a body language, like it might be uncomfortable to start with, but once you keep sticking to that run, you'll be able to see the result that you are getting. So be aware of the sensations and feelings as you mimic, filter, and fine tune. Look for positive evidence and slowly pick up from there, right? These need not be done in big chunks. We need to start somewhere, create a small change so that we start getting better results. Also bring in your own uniqueness into the process, because becoming a Xerox version of someone is not the point here. We are adopting strategies, particularly in terms of body language and tonality, but you maintain your uniqueness and you maintain your authenticity, because everything depends on what you want to achieve in this life. So the question is, can you adopt this to bring out a better version of yourself? So NLP has several techniques and processes of belief change works. Right. So in a full-fledged training program, you can do that. Quickly, problem 3, mood management. So I know what I want, and I have been consistently working with my belief systems, but that doesn't really solve the problems at the best level, because the EI, the emotional intelligent parts, keeping ourselves in positive mind state as much as possible would be the key. I'm just giving some basic insights of NLP techniques, NLP way of emotional intelligence. So understanding that there are no bad emotions and good emotions, right? If the person is anger bad, definitely not. Anger is either useful or not useful. Anger could be very useful if it is channelized properly. So all emotions are our friends. This, I believe, right, is one of, personally, it has helped me a lot not to always keep wrestling with the emotions, not always to pigeonhole emotions as good or bad, not trying to suppress the emotions, but trying to understand those emotions. Basically comes from this: all emotions are our friends. They are trying to communicate with us. When emotion comes, it means there is a message behind that emotion. They have a message for us. For example, anger can mean your value system has been violated by others. Guilt can mean your value system has been violated by yourself. Fear makes the message that the knowledge is not sufficient. When we don't have adequate knowledge about something, the fear sets in. So fear again is a message that there is ignorance, there is insufficient or lack of knowledge in that particular aspect or domain. So these are something very interesting messages. When you understand the message behind the emotion, then it helps you to take strong, concrete action so that you are able to benefit from that message. For dealing with difficult moods, awareness is the key. Disassociation is a very important technique where you are able to look at yourself as a third person. When you're having a conflict with another guy, can you disassociate, occupy a third position and look at yourself? Because, right, 95% of advices are not followed. Let me repeat it, right? 95% of advices not followed because it comes from someone else. But there is a high probability of 80% of advices are followed when the advice comes from yourself. And how can you come with a very good advice for yours? You are the best judge of your life. You can be the best coach of yourself because no one else knows your life much clearer than you. So you are the best person to advise yourself, and that is possible when you are able to disassociate. Disassociation is the ability to observe ourselves from the third position. First position is your perspective. Second position is the other person's perspective with whom you have a conflict. This is useful for you to empathize with another person and useful for conflict resolving. But third position is like a fly on the wall where you observe from a neutral position. So disassociation is thoroughly dealt with NLP training programs. There are lots and lots of practices and techniques where the techniques help you to disassociate and come up with more choices. Dissociation is the ability to look at yourself as a third person, helps you get a grip over your emotions. I am angry, one state. I have anger in me is another state. Let me repeat these two states. I am angry is one state. I have anger in me, observing myself and identifying that I have the anger of emotion of anger. I am angry is very different from I have anger in me. And which is the problem solving state? Of course, the disassociated I have anger in me is a very powerful problem solving state. It helps you create a gap between the stimuli and reaction so that you can respond well. It helps you create awareness and create more choices. So this is one thing. At an NLP training program, there is lots and lots of scope for you to put yourself in a dissociated state and look at your life very, very deeply and intently. But at the same time, right, do you want to always be dissociated? Definitely not. When you have an ice cream, I want you to be associated so that you can enjoy your ice cream. But maybe when you go for the second ice cream, you need to disassociate, right? And ask yourself a question: is the second ice cream really essential? So again, the question is, do you have a healthy balance of association and disassociation? However, when you are in a disempowered state, it will be very useful for you to disassociate and help you create more choices. One question, right, that can ask is, if one of your friend comes to you in the very same position in which you are, suppose you are a very negative state of mind, you can ask this question: if a friend of mine comes to be in the same negative emotional state, what advice would I give him? And the answer would probably be more helpful for you also. That is the power of disassociation. And the last problem, right, which I really work is creating and sustaining positive changes. So understanding initiating change, how do we define change? Past is not equal to the future, right? This is again significant. So this is the definition, NLP definition of change. My past need not be equal to my future. So neurological levels of change is a very interesting concept of change where there are, right, 5 levels. Change could take place at the environment level. Change could take place at the behavior level. Change could take place at skills and capabilities level. Change and takes place at the beliefs and values level. And the change takes place at identity level. And the new level of change is change could take place at the purpose, vision, and mission level. So these are the levels in which change takes place. So one thing we need to understand is if the lower level changes, please focus, this is very important. When the lower level changes, the higher level may or may not change. But when a higher level changes, the lower level will change. So normally we look at processes as this, right? From bottom to top. There is a change in environment, there is a change in behavior. The behaviors become solidified as a skill set. Based on the when we observe our skill sets and the results we produce, we start believing in ourselves. And when we believe in ourselves, that relates to a particular identity, and that identity helps us create a purpose or vision or mission. But this could be a slow, tiresome process. And NLP is said to be very, very effective because it directly works at the levels of beliefs and values, so that the change down becomes much more faster. So if a lower level change, the upper level may or may not. If a higher level changes, the lower level will change. So understanding and initiating change, right? We start from top to bottom, right? For example, right, people who suddenly have very big changes in their vision, mission, purpose. For example, when Gandhiji was thrown out, then maybe this is what happened. A very strong purpose came, a greater good came into existence. And from there, his identity, beliefs and values, skills and capabilities, behavior, and the environment. Environment is not just the physical structure. Environment is how you look at the world. That itself changes. Are you with me? Am I communicating? Any questions? Okay. So creating change at the levels of purpose, identity, values, beliefs can be very, very effective, and they could be very sustained. So if I want to be a regular exerciser, right, you want to bring in exercising as a regular part, then the question is how can you connect daily exercising at a behavior level with a long-term purpose? Again, the question is, we come back, right? If you want to create a change in behavior level, how can you create it or connect it with to a higher level? Only when you connect a behavior change to a higher level, it becomes sustainable. When you connect a lower level to a higher level, it becomes sustainable. So one question you can choose to ask yourself is, if I exercise, how is it going to affect my identity? How is it going to affect my purpose? So if I want to reach my purpose, I need to have a healthy body. And for that, I need to exercise, not for exercising for having a healthy body, but having a healthy body, when you're able to connect it with a higher purpose, then it becomes powerfully motivating. So from confusion to clarity, from tentativeness to confidence, from reaction to proaction. So this is problem one. The problem two, from tentativeness to confidence, from reaction to being more proactive, managing your moods, responding well, and from stagnation to purposeful growth oriented living. These are the 4 major problems which I find NLP can help you very, very fast. Any questions?
So this is Tyagarajan, sir. This is Tyagarajan.
Yes, Mr. Tyagarajan.
So this is like, usually I find that in NLP, somebody does the techniques to us.
Okay.
It is more effective. But
Okay.
what you've seen so far is like, can we do it ourselves as well, individually? Like, I can do the techniques myself. Is that?
Probably you can do the techniques yourself. There are lots of literature about techniques. But to start with, is somebody helps you to do that, because if you're good, if you're able to disassociate yourself, right? So some people dissociation comes very naturally. Yeah, then it is very much possible for them to do. I myself have have done some techniques on my own, but it's always helpful to start with someone else, a third person, to guide you, so that you can understand the process, how the technique works, and then you can start picking it on your own. And then I'm sure once you become familiar with the NLP principles, believe me, sir, you can create your own techniques.
Okay, sir. Okay. So will this recording be shared to us through email?
I'll share you the details, right? The email, I'll share you the details. Maybe it will take some time. I need to upload it, edit it, and then I'll share the link to you.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So do start contemplating and applying these changes in your life. I do hope that this webinar has been of use to you. So quickly, just for 3 more minutes as the next step in learning NLP further, I would like to inform you about my third learning programs where we can travel much more deeper, where I can spend more time with you, understand your needs at a very deeper level, and help you explore your full potential. That's the idea. My training programs, generally I do NLP certification programs at a diploma, basic and master's level. Diploma is a 2-day program, basic is another 2-day program, and master's is a 4-day program. But the journey doesn't end there. There is a 1-year mastermind, 1-year master group continuous learning circle, where the learning keeps continuing for a period of 1 year. So success from within, so certification programs at one level, success from within is group coaching based, right? Group coaching, few people, very specific, focus oriented group coaching programs. I call them success from within. And then my one-to-one coaching programs, I call them Dare Something Worthy, where I help individuals stay very focused and try and take massive action towards what they really want in life, something which is very, very worthy of them. And then my online NLP courses, you can just I'll give you my email ID. You can let me know. I'll share you the details about these programs. Very importantly, right, a further learning opportunity. Those of you who are really interested in learning more deeply about these ways can join me on an upcoming NLP diploma program happening this weekend on coming Saturday and Sunday. It's a certified NLP diploma program. So far, so many batches have run through. I have certified more than around 450 people in diploma level, and around 250 people at basic level, and around 50 people at the master's level. So the details of the program, key takeaways, what would you actually learn from this 2-day diploma program, how the human mind works. This is, I think, the biggest challenge for any manager leader. It comes out with wonderful frameworks to understand how the human mind works and how to categorize things, how people get motivated, what is the positive intention behind people's behavior. This is one curiosity element that can really help you in understanding people, how people learn. That is again significant. How to effectively communicate with them based on how they learn, based on their learning styles. We'll be discussing the learning styles, and you can choose to communicate with people depending on the learning styles. How to find patterns in people behavior. This is something very important. The keys for change lie in the patterns. So once you understand the patterns, 3 patterns we discussed: patterns in thinking, patterns in language, and patterns in behavior. How to identify these patterns and help people or self-coach yourself. How to utilize these patterns, bringing in awareness and change for the best. How to use all these on your own self for self-coaching and for coaching of others. These would be the key takeaways at the end of the program. Program details, it will be a Zoom online live, 26th and 27th February, coming Saturday and Sunday from morning 9:30 to 5:30. Of course, it goes up to 6:30 with breaks, very limited participants so that I'm able to work with them well. There is a complimentary bonus, a continuous learning process. The learning doesn't stop here. Continuous learning process for 1 year. My mastermind group, where I do at least one pre-webinar every month, and I share resources, NLP resources for a period of 1 year. That is complimentary. I would say that would be very, very effective if we continue to learn. What can you learn? This is the syllabus, right? How people operate, the two basic paradigms of human behavior, how people form perceptions, the three psychological filters, the insight filters, how people create their maps, how people learn, the three ways of preferential learning, how people transform, the 5 questions which help people to transform, how people process information, right? Again, it's very important what happens inside, how to set well-formed outcomes, how to access positive mind states, anchoring, how to remove negative habits and how to create positive habits, the switch technique. So these are the things that you can really learn. Who can be benefited by this program? Of course, trainers, coaches, psychologists, executives, team leaders, faculty members, organization leaders, and business owners, right? They form the major chunk of my clientele, and they are able to find good value in this particular program. Lots of feedback have come that unconscious transformation has been made possible. That is something which I love when I get this type of feedbacks. So what next for those of you who are interested in attending my training, group coaching 1 to 10, right? Please send me, you can note down my mobile number, 9441284886. I shall send you the complete details. So if you want to join, right, you can get in touch with me. The pricing for this program is rupees 10,500, 2 days, Saturday and Sunday, including tuition, certification, and the bonus of 1 year membership. But however, as a special offer for this webinar attendees, the discounted pricing today is rupees 8,500. So I'll share the link with you, the payment link. If you're interested, right, you can just get in touch with me. Just give me a second. I'll share the link in the chat box. If you're interested, you can right, make the payment, right? You can also connect with me. Here is my mobile number, 9441284886. Have a discussion with me so that we can understand each other better. That is also very much possible. You can call me sometime today or tomorrow morning, get your doubts cleared, and then if you're interested, you can choose to join the program. So that's about it. So any other questions you want to ask?
Sir, I have a doubt. Basically, how long on an average it takes to rewire? You were speaking about the, if at all you want to rewire your belief system, you'll have to do all these things. On an average, how long it takes for a person normally?
Normally, right?
You would have seen many people, yeah.
Yeah, in a sense, right? The fastest is, as I said, the creation of OBS. It could be very instantaneous, right? Very, very instantaneous. Traumas are very, very instantaneous belief systems. So it actually depends on the conditioning, the belief, the level of conviction that the individual has towards his or her belief systems. But the question is, we can start somewhere, right? Particularly what I find very useful is in the visualization, particularly the contrastive analysis, having a weak belief and a strong belief, that really works well. Right? Even a few times helps them feel better. And it's a very interesting loop, right? You feel better, start doing something differently, see the result, and that helps you well, right? See, there is doubting part of our mind which says, show me evidence, I will believe. There is another intuitive part of us which says, I'll first believe and then look for evidence.
Yeah.
Right? So both things are possible. We can use that both. So personally, I would say my beliefs have changed, and the feedback which I get from most of the participants is that belief systems, particularly with respect to career and businesses, have changed. Right? So the process is the same. Whatever I have shared with you today. First one is a logical part to kickstart asking the meta model questions, which we do during the program itself, to make sure that the negative belief is loosened. Right? It's loosened, it is weakened. And then when you come up with the intuitive visualization techniques, and particularly if you have someone to model using the ASIF technique, when they go hand in hand, the belief change work can be very fast.
Sure, got it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So any other questions, friends? Okay, right. So thank you very much. Right. I hope this program has been of use to you. So those of you who are interested in having an NLP journey with me, please get in contact with me. We'll take things forward. So
Sure.
thank you, right? From the base of my heart, I wish you all the best, right? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All the best.
Thank you. All the best.
All the best.